I've always had this question: why is fire so fascinating to all humans, irrespective of where they come from? Like in a campfire, people can just keep on looking at the fire in the center, and it just keeps us entertained somehow. Why is that?
It's the oldest evolved human technology. Humans who liked fire got warmth, got more calories from cooking, and kept animals away and got light at night, and so they survived. Humans who didn't like fire died. So we've gone through an evolutionary bottleneck where we like to look at fire.
I think that might be a Lamarckian argument, like a giraffe stretching its neck up to reach the higher foliage, and that's why giraffes have long necks. I don't think everyone likes looking at fire. I think fire is a useful thing. It illuminates, gives us more information in a dark place. It keeps us warm, and therefore it has attributes in the existing environment which are positive and which people enjoy. The more orthodox natural selection explanation, I believe, would be something like the technology of fire was adapted by certain groups. Those groups could get more calories from cooking. Those groups could get more light to see in the dark. Those groups could chase away predators. And so those groups survived, and the technology survived along with them. It's also kind of like, does everyone like dogs? Kind of. Everyone says that everyone likes dogs, but the truth is that just we've evolved with dogs. Dogs are around. There's a connection between man and dogs, but it's not like the dogs, and the dogs did help us survive. But it's a little bit the same, right? If you said, why do people love dogs? And then you said, well, because dogs conferred a benefit in the ancestral environment. Well, that's Lamarckian, right? I think. Isn't it more along the lines, the groups that domesticated dogs were more likely to survive, and dogs are a form of technology for protection, for early warning, and for fighting off predators, I guess.
No, a Lamarckian argument would be that people liked fire, and so people who liked fire passed that gene down to their children, and they grew to like fire more and more and during their lifetimes, and as such, that like of fire got passed down genetically. And of course, no such thing is possible because the gene is a crystal. It doesn't get modified by your behavior during your lifetime, and it doesn't get passed down based on that. What I'm making is a Darwinian argument around survival and filtering, which is people who didn't like fire stayed away from fire and died because they didn't get enough calories. They got eaten by animals. They didn't have light at night. They didn't have the weapon, etc. Listening to what you're saying, I think we gave the same explanation, just using different words. Lamarckianism, summarized, essentially says that behaviors picked up during a lifetime get passed down to the children, and those that behaviors can be transmitted through the genes. And that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that mutations that cause you to have certain behaviors increase your chance of survival, and so there are just more of you in the population, and that's a Darwinian argument.
Right. So a Lamarckian argument in the human context would be a meme can be genetically passed on because I like fire, I pass that on to you. I like dogs, I pass that on to you. But memes cannot be passed on through sexual reproduction. But there's something that I need to think about some more about the sort of polygenic expression of liking fire that was selected for, because there's something that doesn't really make sense there. I got to think about it some more, though. So let's take the internet, for an example, like modern fire, right? Confers a ton of benefits, all that information. You can communicate with anyone like what I'm doing here. Very valuable. Is it that my kids will inherit my polygenic enjoyment of scrolling on the internet and sharing dank memes with everybody? That's quite possible, but that would be the same argument. But what is coding for that gene? Or is it that I have so many sons and therefore I have so many sons because the scrolling on the internet and sharing dank memes has conferred a benefit, and then they will share my proclivity or whatever that is that creative urge to exploit tools that allow you to spread your memes, and they will also become meme lords. Is that it? So fire worshipers, meme lords, same thing? And by the way, it's funny because my family's lineage is Parsi, as Zoroastrian, which their whole deal is the eternal flame. And if you go to Mumbai, you can visit the if you're a Parsi, you have to, which I don't qualify because I'm not, but you have to be indoctrinated and do all those rituals to show that you're part of you're willing to participate in the costly rituals, right? That's that's how you know. But you go to Mumbai and there are all these fire temples still that you can go in, and I can't go in, but people go in. It's pretty cool.
Not really, because your ability to procreate or the mass population's ability to procreate is not predicated upon their facility with internet dank memes. So in that sense, there's not a strong selection filter working. However, if you like fire versus don't like fire, there is a strong selection filter working for you or against you.
I disagree. The internet, use of the internet and being able to, say, make money online, to prosper using this tool, is a selective filter. If you're not monetizing your talents online, you're not going to survive. AI is going to take your job. So I'm going to push back on that. What do you think? Isn't the whole how to get rich without being lucky mindset all about leveraging the internet as a sine qua non of a successful, sustainable life? And therefore, isn't it, in fact, being able to spread your memes, your dank memes, by which I mean, I hope you understand, not just, caption memes, but ideas that confer benefit, that are helpful, that are valuable, that explain things, that solve problems. All of those, all those things. Isn't the internet and sitting in front of your computer or cell phone, figuring out a way to monetize your soul, essentially as selective and conferring as big a benefit, way bigger benefit, in fact, because of the massive leverage involved, as fire used to be? Isn't that our new fire?
It's not a powerful enough filter to make a huge difference in the statistics between replicating and not replicating, at least not in the time frames involved, maybe over 50,000 years or something, but it's not going to happen over 2 generations of who's great with the internet replicating more than who's good with the internet or who's just okay with the internet. In fact, the correlation may run the opposite, but in any case, it's not going to show up in just a few generations. That's not how natural selection works.
Without being disagreeable, I disagree. So natural selection has 2 components, right? Survival and reproduction. So the technologies of fire and dogs, they help the group survive, which means that all groups that embraced it, all groups that involved to have whatever that gene is that likes fire, likes dogs, survived. But the internet confers individual benefit on being able to accumulate resources, which is the prerequisite in society, I guess, to reproduce. And so isn't it true that those that embrace and can exploit at individual level, the internet, this new technology, will not only survive, but they will reproduce more. And therefore, whatever that polygenic predisposition is, will be passed on. And those that do not embrace the internet or figure out how to exploit it will be eliminated from the gene pool, or that non-disposition will be eliminated from the gene pool because they won't have any kids or many kids, not as many as me anyway. Yeah, and I understand it doesn't happen, in one generation. It takes a couple generations to make a wolf into a chihuahua, but it's happening faster. It happens faster with regard to just eliminating via non-reproduction, which is happening with intensity like it's never happened before with our species. So fire worshiper, dog lover, survives, reproduces. Meme lord survives and reproduces, but not via the group's protection or through the adoption of these technologies, but through the individual and his ability to accumulate resources and therefore attract mates and therefore spread that predisposition to his or her children. Another way of putting this might be that there were a bunch of different technologies that could help a group survive that were adopted by different groups and maybe conferred survivor benefit that then passed the genes on to the next generations. The sharp stick, the fire, the dog, a bunch of different ones, but it was all in a group setting, right? And so, so there's different predispositions that could have competed, different genetic varieties of human proclivities that could have been passed down. So you could have gotten the non-fire worshipers who were the exceptionally fervent sharp stick worshipers. That's a bad example, but I think you get what I mean. But here, isn't this literally the great filter? Because not only is this technology, another way of putting this might be that there were a bunch of different technologies that could help a group survive that were adopted by different groups and maybe conferred survivor benefit that then passed the genes on to the next generations. The sharp stick, the fire, the dog, a bunch of different ones, but it was all in a group setting, right? And so, so there's different predispositions that could have competed, different genetic varieties of human proclivities that could have been passed down. So you could have gotten the non-fire worshipers who were the exceptionally fervent sharp stick worshipers. That's a bad example, but I think you get what I mean. But here, isn't this literally the great filter? Because not only is this technology distracting everybody from having kids, but the people that don't learn to exploit it are not going to have kids. And therefore, there's nothing competing with the internet as far as saying, I have lots of kids, even though I don't use the internet. Okay, yes, the Amish is a counterexample where you have a group that has chosen not to use the internet and is surviving and passing on that predisposition to their children, if it can be a polygenic trait that is passed on. I suppose you will point to the fact that there are no surviving populations that didn't adopt fire, sharp sticks, dogs. There are some technologies that were so selective that nothing that didn't adopt them survived. Whereas you would say, yes, but look, there are people that don't use the internet and are reproducing. I just think that in a couple of generations that gets swamped out, and either you figure out how to use the internet to monetize your unique self, or you don't pass those genes on. And people that don't learn to do it, not most of them, will not reproduce because they won't have resources. At least that's one possible theory. Or why would that not be right? Then I guess there's the state, the state, or the larger group that can provide for people, with the bugs in the pod, if and they can survive and I guess reproduce within the pod bug people population. So maybe that's what you're saying, that it's not selective. There's not enough selective pressure. There's not enough benefit conferred or selective pressure for not embracing meme lord ship. And therefore there will continue to be non-meme lords having kids who are not meme lords. Last one, and you can just respond to this one. How do you know it's not a powerful enough force to be selecting for the trait and having it be the winning trait that defines the future of humanity? How do you know? I'm curious, because you seem very confident about that. Also, Neanderthals had fire. I just looked that up. And how do we even know what the role of fire was in surviving? That's a real big assumption, going back to the original response to the chit, about why everyone likes looking at fire, which I don't even know if that's true. I don't particularly love looking into fire. What if fire was the old internet? And in fact, it was, when you could be safe sitting, in a cave with the fire, where the meme lords could get up and, spread some dank memes on the walls, paint them, talk about them, throw the shadows on them, make them kind of animated with the shadows, take some hallucinogenic mushrooms, and then, have, cognitive breakthroughs. How do we know that it wasn't those meme lords that are the paternal lineage or maternal lineage, because female meme lords, totally viable idea as well, that has resulted in all of us, being here. And therefore, the internet is the new fire, the new vehicle for meme lords, the new way that the people that actually actively embrace, exploit, use this new technology to spread their dank memes. And those dank memes, because they're good explanations, they're ideas, they're concepts, they're inventions, they're innovations. Those are what create wealth and abundance. You then get the wheel, you get the sharp stick, you get the dog. And everyone's like, wow, that guy's awesome. I want to make babies with him. So the working theory would be, for most of our species evolution, in the ancestral environment, the hunter-gatherers, it was the meme lords that passed on their genes, and that drove the cognitive revolution. Then with agriculture, it became the warlords, who passed down their genes, and meme lords, became subservient and subordinated to the warlords. And that was centralization of power, from the kingdoms to the nation state. And now we're returning to, this, modality where the meme lords can now once again, take over and spread their memes and their genes, more effectively than the warlords, more effectively than the NPCs. I think the agricultural revolution gave rise to NPCs, whereas before there were just meme spreaders, rather meme propagators rather than, people. Oh, I guess that's what an NPC is, a meme propagator. So I guess there were still, hunter-gatherer NPCs, and the meme lords were the, people playing the game.
The one about fire is interesting. I was explaining sort of the structure of the solar system to my daughter a couple months ago, and the sun's the only source of light in the solar system, right? So that's cool. Everything you see, right? Like it all comes from the sun, right? But the only natural source of light on the planet is fire, right? Then I suppose lightning and maybe bioluminescence and probably some other edge cases. So it could just be a simple, like, light is actually kind of a rarely sourced thing for a long time, but not anymore.
Obviously, moonlight comes from the sun, but it occurs to me that moonlight has played a big part in our species' evolution and the evolution of every other species on the planet that can perceive that moonlight. It changes things, changes the night into something where you can perceive more than you can when it's when there's no moon, when there's a new moon, I guess. Anyway,